Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. We are getting down to the end of this series. We are finishing this Stratocaster style guitar with the deluxe finishing kit from Oxford Supply. This is available through Oxford Supply's website, which will be in the description below. If you want to pick it up through there, please feel free to drop my name when they ask you how you heard about them. Helps me out. Or it's also available through Solo Guitars, Solo Music Gear, same company. Link in the description for that as well if you want to pick it up through there, and that is an affiliate link, so again, helps me out if you use it. We've gotten partway through this series now, so let's talk about what we've done so far. But in today's video, what we're going to do is start adding our clear coat. So we are getting to the end of this project. Seems to be going well so far. I love the color. This is the Ice Blue Metallic, one of the vintage colors from Oxford. I'll tell you right now, I've used quite a few different lacquers, certainly not all of them. People ask me all the time, what do you think about this one or that one? And I haven't tried them all, but I've used quite a few. Oxford, my favorite kind of vintage lacquer. You can also get, like this kit comes with the clear gloss nitrocellulose lacquer. You can get satin, you can get other stuff, but you can also get the like vintage formula. So this is still nitrocellulose lacquer, so it's a vintage finish, but the vintage formula stuff is designed specifically to check up and yellow more rapidly. So it will start to look vintage very, very quickly. This stuff will do so in a reasonable amount of time. It's a little bit more of a modern formula. So here we go. Looking good. Like I said, what we've done so far is we've sanded it. We didn't grain fill it because we didn't need to. It wasn't an open grain wood, so no problems there. We went at it with the sanding sealer. All of this stuff comes in the kit. Even the sandpaper comes in the kit. So we went at it with the sanding sealer, then we sanded again at I think 400 grit. Then we hit it with the white primer to give us, one, the rest of our kind of grain filling properties in a nice smooth even finish, and two, an even color, an even base to put the metallic on. Sanded that with 800 grit, and here we are with 2 coats of the Ice Blue Metallic, and that's enough. It looks good. I only took 2 coats. Really with the color, what you're aiming for is even coverage. You don't need to build up a bunch of color. It doesn't do any good. The more paint you build up on a surface, the more chance there is for failure. So there's a reason to build up your primers and stuff like that. That's to give you a nice base, a nice even surface to work with. There's a reason to build up your clear so that you get extra protection and, you know, a nice thick layer that you can sand back and polish without burning through it. So there are reasons for those. There is no reason to build up excess color. All you need is enough to get proper coverage. Now that's not the same for a candy finish where, you know, more color means more depth. Okay, fine. Depending on what you're going for, you might want to build up extra coats of candy. People do, you know, 5-10 coats of that sometimes to get a deeper, darker looking finish. But if you're doing a metallic or an opaque color or something like that, my advice to you is just make sure you've got proper coverage. Usually it's 2 coats or 3. We're gonna do probably about 6 coats of clear. The kit comes with 3 cans. That's tons, plenty. You're not gonna need more than that. I do occasionally have people telling me, I can't believe something's gone wrong. I went through all this effort. I used 6 cans of clear coat. And I think to myself, well, you can probably figure out the problem here. That's way too much paint. You can only build up so much paint before it starts to get, you know, mushy, problems with reactions, stuff like that. So anyway, enough of that. We're gonna go ahead and spray this now. I am using, and you will see, the Spin Twist paint rig. So I've got their drying rack right here, which holds 4 separate guitars for drying. You've seen this before. I've got it mounted on the bar here that I'm gonna slot into the rig, and it's gonna make my life much, much easier. One more thing. If this were just a standard color, I would gently sand this with 800 grit right now to prep it for clear coat. I'm not going to for 2 reasons. One, it's nitrocellulose lacquer. I still would, but it's nitrocellulose lacquer, so my clear gloss will attach to this. It will bond chemically, so I don't need the mechanical adhesion that you would get from sanding, although I would like to have it. But this is a metallic, and metallics don't look the same when you sand them. They get streaky and stuff. So all I'm gonna do is take the tack rag that comes with this kit, wipe this down so that it's nice and clean, shake the heck out of my can, and get started spraying. And that's what we're gonna do right now. Let's get after it. Okay, so I am of course gonna turn on the booth. This is a pull booth. It pulls fumes that way. and throw on a respirator when I paint this. Highly recommend that you do your best to do the same. Definitely get a respirator. If you can access something that will pull fume, like a explosion-proof fan with a filter or something like that, awesome. Realize not everybody has that. Just wanted to quickly chat about this, and you'll see how quickly and smoothly this goes. And it's going to go smoothly and quickly for 2 reasons. One, Oxford Supply makes a very good spray can. Great propellant in it. Really nice tip. It comes with a round tip and a fan cap. The white one's the fan. So that's what I'm using. Okay. And 2, I have the Spin Twist paint rig. Basically a professional paint rig. So this allows me to move the guitar around smoothly and easily and access any part of it that I need. And you'll see how fast and smooth I'm able to paint it because of that. These things are awesome. Probably not a purchase you're going to make if you're painting one guitar, but if you're doing a few of them, makes your workflow a lot easier. You can get different length legs for them. I'll put the link in the description of this stuff as well. One nice thing about this is it cuts down on the mess because normally you're hanging a guitar or you're putting it on a stand and you got to go all around it and spray it from different angles. Here, if you've got a booth, I only need to spray toward the booth. So I am constantly spraying in the direction of my pull booth or in the direction of wherever I want my paint to go to limit the mess. Really happy about that. Okay, the rest is going to have to be voiceover if I'm going to do any more talking, because I'm going to protect myself here by turning on this extremely loud booth and throwing on my respirator, and that's that. Let's get going. All right, so on to the fun stuff here, the actual spraying. If you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you've seen me do this a bunch of times. And in fact, by now you've seen me do it with Oxford cans, and you've seen me do it on the Spin Twist paint rig. So nothing really new here, but let's talk about it anyway. As always, even with clear coat, of course, make sure you give your can a good shake. There are solids in the clear coat. They're not pigments, but they are solids, and you need to give it a good shake. Some people have a bit of a misconception about that. I always like to start with the edges, as you see me doing here. Number of reasons for that. One is just the flow of it. It works better. But more importantly, the overspray. So when you spray the edges, some overspray gets on the front and back. And the only way to get rid of overspray is to either sand and polish it or spray over it. So this is the easiest way to get a nice finish on the front and back, which are the most prone to getting overspray because they're the bigger surface. And also the most important, right? You want your front and back to look good. The edges are important too, but not as important. Paint tends to build up along the sides of the guitar fairly nicely. Not on corners, unfortunately, but it still looks good. The front and the back are the more difficult areas because they're bigger. So I do the sides first, and then I tend to do the back, and then I finish off with the one that's most important to me, the front of the guitar. I'm going to go ahead and fire on another coat here. So that was the first one. Dries really, really quick, a few seconds, and it's time to do another pass right away here. So again, starting with the edges, I do them from kind of from the top, so to speak, and from the bottom. So I flip it over and hit them again. And you can see I'm kind of focusing on that top-down angle both times with the guitar facing a different way. That gives me a little bit of extra build-up on the corners that I'm focusing on because paint doesn't build up very well on corners. And it gives me a nice build-up on the edges from the double pass. As usual, 50% overlap here, so I'm trying to overlap my prior streak of paint that I'm laying down by 50% when I go in with my next one. And that's easy to do with these nice Oxford cans for a couple of reasons. One, they spray really nicely. They're just a high-quality paint can. And 2, they come with a fan cap. So there's going to be a white cap in each can. That's the fan cap. It's just a small fan, but you can see it's spraying, in a straight line a little bit more as opposed to a circle. And then there's the other one, which is the standard circle pattern. All right. I always use the fan cap for projects where I'm trying to coat surfaces. The other one is more for very small projects, tighter focused areas for paint or artwork. So if you're doing some kind of artwork, fine. You probably want a more classic graffiti style round cap. I don't use lacquer for anything like that, so it's not something that I have a lot of experience with this type of paint, but it's always an option. So we did our 2 coats before. We waited probably 5 minutes, and now we're coming back and doing the same again. So I'm on, obviously we did a cut there to wait the 5 minutes, and I'm just repeating myself. I do end up coming back a little later, after I think about a week, sanding lightly and repeating again and doing another 4 coats. So this guitar ends up with about 8, I believe. Now when you are doing this, you want to try and keep the can the same distance from the surface at all times. The spin twist paint rig really helps with that because it helps you control where the guitar is, but at the end of the day, without the rig or with it, that is a focus. You need to try and keep the can the same distance all the time, otherwise you end up with heavier spots where the paint will get too thick and possibly run, and lighter spots where it'll kind of go on dusty. So if you ever see your paint going on and it doesn't look very smooth and you've been told put it on in light coats, well, chances are you're putting it on too light, and one of the reasons for that is holding the can too far away from the substrate. All this to say, keep it equidistant from the surface, which is pretty straightforward. You just want to move in straight lines instead of a swooping pattern. We're going to speed up here because I've been talking for too long, but the natural tendency with your arm in front of you, if you're standing still, is to create kind of an arc pattern where in the middle of the paint stroke you're going to end up closer to the surface. That's what you're trying to avoid. Move back and forth in a straight line. If you have to do it with a little swaying motion like I do, you'll see I kind of move my body back and forth a little bit. I find that helpful, but whatever works for you. Guys who do cars have to walk in a very particular way to get their lines straight and keep the paint gun the same distance from the car. We don't need to do that with guitars because they're smaller. Anyway, here's what we look like after the first round of clear coating, which ended up being about 4 coats. Looking pretty good so far. All right, guys, it's time to move on to the polishing stage now. I apologize for the poor sound quality. I got to use these because I'm in the middle of a move and my stuff's all over the place, and I just didn't have time to figure out where my microphone was before coming into the shop today, because this series has taken long enough already. Anyway, so obviously we've got our ice blue metallic on there now. You've seen me do the clear coat for this. I did come back and do another quick clear coating session, 3 coats off camera, so I think I've got 6 coats on it at this point. It's looking pretty good. I maybe should have considered grain filling this one first, but I don't think so. I think it's going to work out just fine. So that's the ice blue metallic with 6 coats of clear. In today's video, we're going to finish this up with the polish. So we've got all the sandpapers that we need in the kit. Sand this nice and smooth, and then I'm going to dry sand because it's a piece of wood, it's lacquer. I've done a video before on why I don't really wet sand guitars anymore. So I'm going to dry sand. That should work fine. And then, we've got our medium and our fine polishing compounds. A couple things to note here. One, if you aren't all that experienced at the sanding and polishing process, or if you're worried, or if you want a really deep coat, whatever, you can do more. You can do more coats of clear. This thing comes with 3 cans of it. So I've got an entire unused can of clear coat here. Clear gloss, and I've got one that's probably half full. So I used about half of what came with this kit. I think I used the 1.5 cans all on this guitar. I don't think I used one from this kit on anything else. So yeah, I used about half. So you can do twice as much as I've done if you want. Second thing is, all you really need to be able to do this polishing is a soft lint-free cloth, an old t-shirt that's been passed through the wash enough times that it doesn't have lint on it, something like that. I do not recommend using microfiber. That's a common mistake. I get people who say, look, I'm doing all this polishing, I'm using the fine polish and everything, and I can't get rid of the scratches. Well, often they're using microfiber cloths, and that's not what those are for. So don't do that. I might catch a little bit of argument on that piece, but that's my thought. What I'm going to use is a couple of polishing pads and just an orbital sander. Polishing pads are pretty easy to come by. The ones that I have are available in the Amazon link in the description in the polishing list that I have there, but you can get them pretty much anywhere. They differ in quality. 3M's got some really nice ones. Mine are Chemical Brothers. There's also cheap ones available at places like Canadian Tire or what have you. They get the job done. Sometimes you just got to finish them up again with a little bit of lint-free cloth. So I'm going to use that to make it a little easier and faster on myself. And yeah, we're going to get this thing buffed up. And that's it for this paint job. That is it for our guitar finishing kit from Oxford Supply. Obviously, there's still the assembly to do, but that's not what this tutorial is about. So before I finish off, huge thank you to Oxford Supply for sending that along. Really fun kit to work with, has everything you need, and we got it done really quick. And another huge thank you to Spin Twist Spray Rig. This is the drying stand that I have this on right now, but I also had, of course, the spray rig itself. You will have seen me using that. It makes things so much easier, and I can't wait to keep using it. All right, let's get after it with the polishing, and yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this so far. We're almost there.
All right, guys, I'm not going to keep talking your ear off here. You've seen me do this process before. We're going to use 1500 grit. We're going to sand by hand. We're going to use a block. Then we're going to come in with the 2000 grit. Same deal with a block. I'm dry sanding, which means you'll see me clean the sandpaper on my jeans because that's how I do it very frequently. If you're wet sanding, it's a little easier to keep it moving, a little easier to keep it from clogging up, just a little easier in general, but also a little riskier. I've heard lots of people tell me that they went through the polishing process and then their paint cracked, and it turned out that water got into the wood and swelled it and caused cracking. So if you've got a way around that, great. If you're comfortable, fine. I'm not telling you that's how you have to do it, but yeah, that's why I dry sand. That's what we're doing. Then we're going to come back with the medium polish and then the fine polish. I'm using 2 different foam pads for that, which is fairly typical, and I'll show you kind of what the front of it looks like at the end. I'm going to sand the back and polish it too, but I don't want this video to be 40 minutes, so we're going to polish up the front in this video, show you what that looks like, and then you can see what the back looks like in comparison, just quickly without the polish. Once it's sanded, it'll actually look kind of like a satin finish a little bit. But anyway, let's get some music on here for you so you don't have to listen to me the whole time, because that's about all I need to tell you. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already so you can see the next cool series that we have coming out. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a good one, and I will see you next time. Enjoy.